In this video, we're going to take a look at how to solve a linear inequality using graphing, where you might have instructions that ask you to use a graphing utility or a calculator. In this video, we're going to be using a graphing utility called Desmos. You can either download this onto a phone or tablet for free, or you can go ahead and go to the website of www.desmos.com in order to access it. The inequality that you see here is the one that we're going to be solving using graphing rather than algebra. Notice that I have the left side highlighted in red. In order to solve by graphing, you need to graph each side separately. So we're going to be graphing the 2x plus 6 as a line in Desmos, and I'll make sure that that line is red for us. And then the other side is going to be graphed as a separate line, and notice it's blue. So when we go to Desmos, I'm going to graph that as blue so that we can tell the difference between them. So negative 4x will be a line in blue. Now notice that we are wanting to know when the 2x plus 6 is less than 4x. So our negative 4x. So we're going to be looking for when the red line is less than the blue line. That's when the red line is below or underneath the blue line. If you're looking at a computer screen, you can look for when the red is below the blue. If you're looking at a phone or a tablet, just hold it upright and then you can see when it's below or above. So let's go to Desmos and graph these and see how that looks like. So we're going to type in y equals 2x plus 6. That gets us our first line, and notice that that's in red, so that's the color that we wanted for the left side of this equation. So now we're going to go ahead and do y equals negative 4x, which was the right side. Now let's make that blue so it color coordinates with the color that we chose in the last screen. So now we're looking at the red and the blue line. What we need to look for is where do they intersect? Because where they intersect is where they're going to change from being either below or above. So notice there's a gray dot there. I'm going to click on that and notice that that intersection is the coordinates or the location for negative 1, 4. Now that's not our answer. That's just the location of where these two lines cross. So let's take a look at this and figure out how do we interpret when the red line is less than the blue line, which is the inequality that we're solving. So in this screen, I can go ahead and show that. Right here, where we have x is negative 1, that's where they're the same. Now, notice that the red line is below the blue line from here over, from where that intersection is over. Now, the inequality we were solving was 2x plus 6 less than negative 4x. So the red, which is the 2x plus 6, is below the negative 4x, which is the blue line, from negative 1 on your x backwards. That means that when your x is less than negative 1, this situation is true. And so that's your solution off of the graph. In interval notation, that would mean that we would be coming up from this negative infinity here. So you'd have a round bracket for negative infinity because you can't reach negative infinity. And if you can't include that, you use a round bracket in interval notation. And then it continues up here to negative 1. Now, in interval notation, you include the first thing, which in this case is negative infinity, then a comma, and then you include the next thing that you come to, which in this case is negative 1. Now, because this inequality is just less than, it does not include the negative 1, we'll use a round bracket on the negative 1 for the interval notation. So this is your interval notation. Now, if this had changed slightly, let's say that instead of a less than, it had a less than or equal to. Then instead of a round bracket on the -1, we would use a square bracket. And on our graph down here, we would use a square bracket to indicate that we're including that -1. Now, we aren't including that -1 for our situation, so we don't want that on there. Now, let's say you were asked to write your solution in set builder notation. In this case, this is all the items where you have x less than -1. So set builder notation uses set bracket, and then you use an x, and then you use a straight line that's shorthand for such that, and then you use x less than -1, and you finish off with another set bracket. The set brackets are shift and then the square bracket buttons on your keyboard if you're trying to type those. So that's how you interpret a graph and solve an inequality by graphing.